A doll can be a child's best friend, but it can also be a parent's worst nightmare if the doll turns out to be haunted. Just as humans need a home to stay in, some dolls have become the refuge for disembodied spirits. In this video, I will go into the stories of some of the most famous haunted dolls in the world. Arguably, the most haunted doll in the United States, and some say the world, is Robert the Doll. In the early 1900s, a young boy named Eugene Robert Otto, affectionately known as Gene, received a handmade doll. There are two versions of the origin of the doll. In one account, Gene's grandfather is the giver, having bought the doll during his trip to Germany. In the second account, it has to do with one of Gene's household maids, a woman of Bahamian heritage whom Gene had grown fond of. She was said to be ill-treated by the family and was immediately dismissed one day when she was seen practicing Bahamian voodoo. Before departing, she bequeathed Gene with the fateful doll. Gene developed a strong attachment to the doll, christening it with his own name, Robert. Robert swiftly became Gene's favorite childhood companion, and the duo became inseparable. While children often converse with their dolls without expecting a reply, Robert was different. In response to Gene's whispers, a deep, eerie voice was said to emanate from the doll. One night, a 10-year-old Gene awoke to discover Robert the doll perched at the foot of his bed. Furniture was upended, and by the time Gene's mother forcefully opened the door, his chamber lay in disarray. Questioned about these events, Gene, visibly terrified, consistently pointed to Robert, exclaiming, "It was Robert, Robert did it." This would be a constant refrain during the years whenever weird things happened. Beyond Gene's room, glassware started to show up broken, picture frames got displaced, and objects moved to odd positions throughout the house. Even the household servants, perceiving these paranormal activities, promptly resigned. Banished to the attic by a family member who believed Robert to be possessed, she passed away the very same day from a heart attack. Despite its exile, Robert's footsteps echoed in the attic, and his childlike laughter resonated throughout the house. In adulthood, Gene, now an artist, married Annette. Upon inheriting the family home after his parents' demise, Gene found himself reacquainted with Robert. The doll swiftly reasserted its prominence in Gene's life, leading to a conflict with Annette, who insisted on banishing Robert back to the attic. Against his wife's wishes, Gene accommodated Robert in the turret room, which also served as his studio. Here, the two would spend hours locked away, engaged in painting and conversation. In 1974, Gene Otto passed away, and rumors circulated that he was discovered in the attic with Robert's hand seemingly clasped around his neck. 2 years later, his wife Annette also succumbed, with speculation suggesting that Robert's curse played a role in driving her to insanity. A new family moved into the house, unaware that Robert still resided within its walls. One day, Robert materialized in their daughter's room. The girl soon found herself besieged by nightmares. To protect their daughter, the family opted to donate Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum, where he remains locked behind a glass display to this day. Even at the museum, staff have discovered him in different positions, cameras have shattered in his presence, and nocturnal footsteps echo through the museum. People have experienced him changing his facial expressions or have the feeling that his eyes are following them as they walked around the room. Visitors are urged to speak to him politely, treat him with respect, and seek his permission before taking his picture, or else face the risk of being cursed. The glass casing Robert is covered with over 1,000 letters, each pleading for forgiveness in an attempt to break the curse. Those who have engaged with him in a manner deemed disrespectful have reported an array of misfortunes, including unexplained accidents, relationship breakdowns, job losses, unforeseen illnesses, and even death. The second famous haunted doll is Annabelle, made famous by the Conjuring series of movies. However, unlike the movies, the real-life Annabelle appears as an innocent Raggedy Ann doll. In the 1970s, a mother purchased this unassuming doll for her young daughter, a nursing student. However, shortly after its arrival, peculiar things started happening. The doll seemed to take on a life of its own. The initial movements were subtle, such as the doll's legs crossing, but these escalated. The doll would mysteriously relocate to different rooms, at times even adopting positions physically impossible for a doll to replicate. Amidst these inexplicable movements, handwritten notes of a childlike nature began appearing throughout the apartment, bearing messages like, "Help me." The curious aspect of these notes lay in the absence of pencils or parchment paper within the apartment, suggesting that these messages could have spontaneously appeared. This conduct both unsettled and fascinated the two young students sharing a living space with the doll. However, their disquiet heightened when, one day, they discovered blood on the doll. Fresh and damp, the blood adorned the doll's hands, with 3 distinct drops visible on its chest. In response to this alarming discovery, the young women decided to enlist the help of a medium to conduct a séance in their home. The aim was to unravel whether a paranormal force was in play. During this séance, the medium purportedly established communication with the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to the communication, Annabelle had met a tragic end, her life extinguished on the vacant field upon which the apartment complex housing the young nurses now stood. Her spirit, allegedly lonely, yearned for connection. In an act of kindness, the unsuspecting owner of the doll made the unfortunate mistake of inviting Annabelle to inhabit the doll. Following the invitation for Annabelle to inhabit the doll and linger around, more peculiar and perilous incidents unfolded. A close male friend of the young nurse experienced the wrath of Annabelle after a visit. He recounted waking up one night, while staying at the apartment, to find the Annabelle doll standing over him. The doll started strangling him that led to him losing consciousness. When he awoke the next morning, he was convinced that this encounter wasn't a mere dream. Despite his fear, he continued to spend time at the girl's apartment until he faced another vicious attack. One night, as he and one of the girls were planning an upcoming trip, a disturbance emanated from the empty room where Annabelle was kept. Concerned about a potential intruder, they investigated, finding the room empty except for the Annabelle doll, seemingly thrown onto the floor in a corner. Upon entering the room for a closer look, the man clutched his chest as blood seeped through his shirt. Upon lifting his top, 7 large scratches across his chest were revealed, forming a mark with 3 vertical and 4 horizontal scratch-like imprints burned into his skin. It became apparent that something more sinister than the spirit of a lost little girl might be haunting Annabelle. This young group of friends grew increasingly desperate for answers and sought help from the church, who swiftly referred them to Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned demonologists with extensive expertise in such matters, having worked on numerous similar cases. The Warrens discerned that a negative, demonic force had deceived the girls by masquerading as an innocent child spirit, tricking them into inviting it into their home. It appeared that the entity had a singular motive, acquiring a human host for possession. Consequently, the Warrens deemed it necessary to expel the entity from the home. Assisted by the Warrens, the young students underwent a home blessing, and Annabelle, the troublesome doll, was removed. However, it appeared that the attached entity persisted, even tampering with their car on the journey home, almost leading to a life-threatening accident. The disturbances ceased only after Ed doused the doll with holy water. Presently, the Annabelle doll resides in the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut, which permanently closed with the passing of Lorraine Warren in 2019. It used to be displayed within a glass case adorned with crosses and protective Bible inscriptions, with a warning nailed below its locked glass casing, "Warning, positively do not open." Despite these precautions, Annabelle has been implicated in the death of a young man. It is reported that this individual, along with his girlfriend, entered the museum and challenged the doll against Ed's advice. After their visit, as they rode away on a motorcycle, the young couple continued to jest about Annabelle. Unexpectedly, the young man lost control of his bike, resulting in a fatal crash. The next haunted doll is Okikku, a doll said to be haunted by the spirit of a little girl, whose hair allegedly continues to grow. In 1918, this doll was purchased by Eikichi Suzuki, a 17-year-old boy from Hokkaido, who bought it for his 2-year-old little sister. Kikuko loved the doll so much that she took it everywhere with her, slept with it every night, and named it Okikku after herself. Tragically, 1 year later, Okikku caught a severe case of the flu and died. The doll was supposed to be buried together with Okikku, but due to unforeseen circumstances, the girl's family ended up keeping the doll she loved so much in an altar for the remembrance of their daughter and started praying to it. At one point, they noticed something very unusual: the doll's hair, which had originally been cut in a short bob around her shoulders, had grown to the waist. They took this as a sign that the doll was haunted by Okikku's spirit. In 1938, Okikku's family decided to move from Hokkaido. Instead of taking their daughter's doll with them, they agreed that it would be best for it to remain on the island. They entrusted it to the monks at Menenji Temple and shared with them its creepy secret. Okikku has been residing at the temple ever since, placed in a little wooden box on display, with the hair being trimmed from time to time. Apparently, one of the monks had a dream of Okikku asking him to do the trimming. The hair on the doll has been examined and tested to be the hair of the young child, but nobody has been able to explain why the doll's hair is human and continues to grow. Next, we have Joliet. Each inheritor of this doll is burdened with the curse of having 2 children, a boy and a girl respectively. However, tragically, the male child in every generation succumbs to death just 3 days after birth. The current custodian of this eerie doll is Anna, who asserts that it has been in her family's possession for over a century. Joliet is reputed to cry at night, mimicking the sounds of a waking baby. The cries vary, sometimes a solitary wail, while other times, a haunting chorus of 4 distinct distressed baby cries can be heard. Anna attributes these cries to the 4 trapped souls she believes reside within the doll, individuals linked to her family tree. This familial connection with the spirits is the primary reason she feels compelled to retain the doll. The origin of this cursed doll can be traced back to Anna's great-grandmother, who received it while expecting her second child. The gift, from a family friend harboring resentment towards Anna's great-grandmother, might have been cursed out of jealousy. Tragically, Anna's great-grandmother's beautiful baby boy, born shortly after receiving the doll, succumbed to an unexplained illness just 3 days later. This heartbreaking pattern persisted for at least 4 generations, with each male infant consistently passing away 3 days after birth. Legend has it that the doll entraps the souls of the boys within its body, where they are said to remain until Judgment Day. An intriguing aspect of this unsettling case is that only female members of Anna's family can perceive the cries emitted by the haunted doll. Not all haunted dolls are malevolent though. Pupa is a haunted doll believed to possess the ability to move on its own. On multiple occasions, the family has heard a distinctive tapping on glass as they pass by Pupa's display case. Upon investigation, they've witnessed Pupa's hand pressed against the glass or his legs crossed. The original owner acquired the doll at the tender age of 5 or 6 in the 1920s and retained possession until her passing in July of 2005. Subsequent to her demise, the family has reported a surge in the doll's paranormal activity, suggesting a desire for liberation from its confinement. Constructed with a felt head, arms, legs, and clothes, Pupa's hair is made from real human hair. A button sewn onto her collar came from the owner's deceased grandmother, sewn on at the conclusion of World War II. The doll accompanied its owner throughout her extensive life journey, spanning from Italy to the United States, back to Italy, across Europe, and ultimately returning to the USA where it presently resides. The original owner shared stories about Pupa with her grandchildren, telling them that the doll was alive and possessed an independent mind. Pupa was said to have communicated with her owner over the years and, according to the narrative, even played a role in saving her life.